Have you ever felt trapped in your own life? The days pass quickly, work pressures pile up, other people's expectations weigh on you, and worries seem endless. You try to keep everything under control, hold the reins, but the tighter you grip, the more peace seems to slip through your fingers. Your mind spins in circles, repeating the same anxious thoughts, and happiness always seems out of reach, like something slipping through your hands. But what if there was another way? What if, instead of being dragged by the chaos, you could step back and see everything with unshakable clarity? What if it were possible to let go of what you cannot control, face challenges with serenity, and free yourself from this endless struggle against your own emotions? This is not just an idealistic idea, it is the path of the Stoics. True peace does not come from trying to control the world around you, but from mastering how you respond to it. Today, we are going to explore exactly how to do that. Let's begin. Number 1. Control your mind. Have you ever felt like you were trapped in a storm with no way out? A single criticism echoes in your head, ruining your entire day. An unanswered message sends you into a whirlwind of negative thoughts, imagining the worst scenarios. A small failure turns into an avalanche of pessimism, as if the world were against you. But here's a truth that few realize. That storm is not out there, it is inside your mind. And if you learn to control it, you will find something you have always been searching for: inner peace. I was once a prisoner of my own thoughts. If someone insulted me, I would get angry. If things didn't go my way, I would feel defeated. I lived like a small boat adrift in the ocean, carried by the waves, without realizing that I could take control of the helm. Until one day, I came across a quote from Epictetus that changed everything. If someone can provoke you, know that your mind is complicit in the provocation. That hit me like a slap in the face. No one could actually make me angry or hurt me. People simply acted or spoke as they wished. But my emotions? Those were my own choice. I realized that it was not the world that made me suffer, but rather how I interpreted the world. From that moment on, I began practicing a simple principle that changed my life: observing the mind instead of letting it control me. Try this. Close your eyes and imagine someone saying something that irritates you. You feel the anger rising, don't you? Now, instead of exploding, stop and ask yourself, is it really this person's words that hurt me, or is it my own thoughts about what they said? Then ask yourself, can I control my reaction? Is there another way to see this situation? You will realize that emotions do not happen to you, they are created by you. If you change your way of thinking, you will change your way of feeling. And when you control what you feel, you take the reins of your own life. Imagine holding a burning coal in your hand. You are angry, feeling pain, but you refuse to let go. You think that by gripping it tightly, you will cause pain to someone else, but in the end, the one getting burned is you. Negative emotions work the same way. We cling to anger, hurt, and anxiety as if they were part of us. But if we learn to control our minds, we can release them. And that is true freedom. When you stop seeking peace in the outside world and start cultivating it within yourself, no one else has the power to hurt you. So how can you put this into practice? First, learn to observe your thoughts. When emotions arise, do not react immediately. Take a step back, distance yourself, and observe them as if they were not yours. Then, recognize that you are not your emotions. Anger, anxiety, sadness, they do not define you. They are just passing waves on the surface of the ocean. Once you realize this, you will be able to control your reactions. When facing something negative, ask yourself, can I respond differently? And finally, remember, nothing can hurt you without your permission. What others say or do only affects you if you allow it to. You do not need to change the world to find peace. You do not need to control everything around you to be happy. Peace does not come from the outside, but from how you perceive the world. Just as the eye of a hurricane remains calm and unshakable, even when surrounded by fierce winds, you can be the eye of the storm in your own life. And it all starts with one thing: mastering your mind. Number 2. Accept everything as it is. Many times, we live under the illusion that we can control everything. We meticulously plan the future, expecting things to happen exactly as we want. But when life takes an unexpected turn, we panic, get frustrated, and often suffer. The truth is that countless aspects of life are beyond our control: the weather, other people's actions, unexpected events. By resisting reality, we only make ourselves miserable. Epictetus once said, "Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for them to happen as they do, and you will be happy." When we stop imposing expectations on the world and start accepting it as it is, we find true happiness. However, acceptance does not mean surrendering or becoming passive. On the contrary, it is a state of awareness where we learn to distinguish between what we can control and what we cannot. Like a chess player, we cannot change the opponent's moves, but we can adjust our own strategy. Like a sailor, we cannot control the direction of the wind, but we can position our sails wisely to navigate the currents. So how can we practice acceptance in daily life? The first step is to clearly recognize the boundary between what is within our reach and what is not. We can control our efforts, but not the results. We can decide our actions, but not other people's thoughts and emotions. By understanding this distinction, we stop wasting energy on things beyond our reach. But understanding this is one thing, practicing it is another. The next step is to cultivate acceptance through small moments in daily life, preparing ourselves for greater challenges. Got stuck in traffic? Instead of getting irritated, use the time to reflect or listen to your favorite music. The rain ruined your plans? Instead of feeling disappointed, embrace the moment, feel the cold drops on your skin, inhale the scent of the earth after the storm. Small adjustments like these gradually shape a new perspective, a different way of seeing the world. Ironically, the more we try to control life, the more vulnerable we become. But when we learn to accept, a strange sense of freedom emerges. It's like a river flowing around rocks instead of trying to break through them, or a kite soaring with the wind instead of fighting against it. We become more adaptable, more at peace, and most importantly, we stop being dragged down by unnecessary negative emotions. Is this easy? Of course not. Human nature craves control, wanting to shape everything to its will. And it is precisely this desire that leads to disappointment. Ask yourself, how many times have you felt unhappy just because something didn't go as expected? How many times have you gotten upset because someone didn't act the way you wanted? How many moments of joy have you missed by clinging to the past or worrying about the future? Life will never be perfect, but we can choose how we perceive it. If today you decide to accept everything as it is, without resentment, without resistance, just accepting, you will realize that the world feels lighter and your heart more at peace. And that is the path to happiness. However, accepting things as they are is only half the journey. After all, life is not just what we see before us, but also the unknown that awaits. What will tomorrow bring? Will our expectations be met, or will an unexpected twist lie ahead? If we live in fear of the unknown, can our minds ever truly be at peace? To find lasting happiness, we must learn to embrace uncertainty with an open heart. Number 3. Embrace uncertainty. Why do we fear uncertainty? Because our minds are trapped in the illusion of control. We want to know what the future holds. We crave the assurance that our plans will unfold exactly as imagined. But in reality, everything can change in an instant. An unexpected storm, a surprising phone call, an opportunity that arises without warning. What happens when we resist uncertainty? We become tense, anxious, desperately clinging to things that were never really ours. But what happens when we learn to embrace it? We become free. Epictetus said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." When we internalize this wisdom, we stop wasting energy on what is beyond our control and instead focus on how we respond to these situations. An investor cannot control the market, but can choose their investments wisely. Someone cannot stop the rain from falling, but can choose to carry an umbrella or simply enjoy the moment. It is this ability to control our perspective that transforms uncertainty from an enemy into an ally. Imagine your mind as a wild horse. If you try to control it by pulling the reins too hard, it will resist and throw you off. But if you learn to guide it skillfully and gently, you can ride freely without fear. Uncertainty works the same way. Instead of fighting against it, learn to flow with its waves. When faced with an uncertain future, don't panic. Instead of asking, "What's the worst that could happen?" ask, "How can I adapt?" Applying this mindset to real life is not as difficult as it seems. Take the first step by identifying what you are trying to control in vain. Write it down. I worry about what others think of me. I fear that my plans will fail. I'm afraid things won't go as expected. Then ask yourself, is this truly within my control? If it's not, let it go. By embracing uncertainty, you not only find peace but also discover an extraordinary strength within yourself. Subscribe to the channel so we can continue this journey together. Number 4. Be indifferent to praise and criticism. Imagine you are walking through a busy marketplace. Vendors call for your attention from all directions, each with their own approach, their own price, their own tempting offers. Some praise you, you have a great eye for quality. Others criticize, you probably don't know how to choose properly. If you react to every comment, you'll be exhausted before you even leave the market. But if you simply smile and keep walking, none of it will weigh on you. Life is like that marketplace. There will always be people with something to say about you. One day you're a hero, the next, a failure. If you allow every opinion to affect you, you'll be trapped in an endless cycle of validation and rejection, of joy and despair. But if you choose indifference, not out of lack of interest, but because you understand that your worth is not defined by praise or criticism, you'll be truly free. What does this mean? It means you don't have to please everyone. If someone likes you, great. If they don't, that's okay too. The Stoics don't advise becoming cold or insensitive. They simply want you to realize that your mind belongs to you, not the crowd. Epictetus once said, "If someone tells you that a certain person spoke ill of you, do not justify yourself. Instead reply, 'He does not know my other faults, otherwise he would not have mentioned only these.' If someone speaks badly of you, instead of rushing to defend yourself or trying to fix your reputation in the eyes of others, ask yourself, how many of my other flaws has this person not even noticed? Does this really deserve my concern?" This perspective is paradoxical but incredibly liberating. Instead of worrying about the judgment of others, remember that you are imperfect, and that's perfectly okay. The truth is, no matter what you do, there will always be people who judge you. You could be the best version of yourself, and still, some will say it's not enough. So why waste energy trying to shape your image to meet everyone's expectations? When you stop trying to control how others see you, you will feel a deep sense of relief. But does being indifferent mean stopping self-improvement? Not at all. In fact, the right kind of indifference makes you stronger because when you are no longer controlled by praise or criticism, you can focus entirely on your goals. Try this. Before making a decision, ask yourself, if no one were watching, if no one were here to praise or criticize me, would I still do this? If the answer is yes, then you're on the right path. If it's no, you might just be seeking external approval. Instead of seeking validation from others, learn to evaluate yourself. Every night, ask yourself, did I live according to my values today? Am I better than I was yesterday? If you can be satisfied with your answers, other people's opinions will lose their power over you. Think of the great figures in history: Socrates, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus. They were criticized, even persecuted, but did that change them? No. They continued to live according to their philosophy, unwavering in the face of both praise and condemnation. So, challenge yourself. Just for one day, live without worrying about what others think of you. Say what you truly want to say. Do what you believe is right, without seeking validation. At the end of the day, you'll realize something: you'll feel lighter. Because in the end, when you stop seeking approval, you not only find peace, you find yourself. Number 5. Abandon the need to always be right. Imagine yourself on a ship in the middle of the ocean. The sea is calm, the breeze is gentle, and the sun is shining brightly. Then someone approaches and says, "The sky isn't blue, it's purple." How do you feel? A little irritated? Wanting to argue? An urgent need to prove you're right? Now think, if you debate with this person, will the sky change color? Will they suddenly agree and admit that you're right? Or will you just be wasting your energy on something irrelevant? Stoicism doesn't tell you to abandon the truth, but it reminds you that not every battle is worth fighting. If someone manages to make you angry, it's not because that person is powerful, it's because you handed them control over your emotions. Let's be honest, we rarely argue to find the truth. We argue to defend our ego. We seek validation. We fear looking foolish. We fear losing power. We fear not being smart enough. And in this obsession with always being right, we sacrifice our inner peace. Our minds are like fortresses. When someone challenges our beliefs, our first reaction is to build walls of defense. But stop for a second and ask yourself, why do we need to defend ourselves? Why can't we simply step back, smile, and let the other person believe whatever they want? Imagine holding a hot coal in your hand, ready to throw it at someone during an argument. Who gets burned first? The ego wants you to hold that coal tightly, whispering, "If you let go, you lose." But does winning a trivial battle justify the pain of the burn? So, how do you avoid getting burned? First, observe your own reactions when you're challenged. When someone disagrees with you, instead of immediately firing back, stop and ask yourself, do I really need to prove I'm right? Is this worth my peace? 9 times out of 10, the answer will be no. Next, practice the art of listening. Most arguments aren't about the truth, but about people's need to be heard. When you stop trying to win a conversation and start truly listening, you'll be surprised by how much people open up to you. In silence, true wisdom emerges. And finally, remember, not everyone is ready to let go of the need to always be right. Some people value winning arguments more than they value peace. They'll try to drag you into endless cycles of debate. But here's the secret: you don't need to accept every fight you're invited to. True strength is knowing when to walk away. So the final question for you is, do you want to be the person who wins arguments, or the one who finds inner peace? If true happiness is your goal, perhaps it's time to lower the sword, step back, and free your mind. Congratulations, you've passed the halfway point. Not everyone has the patience to pause the rush of life and reflect deeply like this. So, take a moment to acknowledge your progress. A simple gesture of support, like a like, is not just a sign of encouragement but a reminder of how far you've come. But don't stop now. The finish line is just ahead. The most valuable insights always wait at the end of the journey, where you'll have a clear map to let go, find peace, and master your own happiness. Keep going, because the best is yet to come. Number 6. Expect less from others. There was a beggar wandering the streets, his clothes tattered and his gaze deep and empty, as though he had witnessed a life full of storms. One day, a passerby asked, "How do you stay so calm when you have nothing?" The old man smiled faintly and replied, "Because I never thought I should have anything." We don't suffer from what we lack, but from what we believe we should have had: a perfect relationship, a career without difficulties, a life without challenges. These expectations work like an invisible contract we make with life. However, the great irony is that life never agreed to these terms. And when reality doesn't match our script, disappointment floods in like a tide. Stoic philosophy teaches that the only way to find peace is to expect less. This doesn't mean giving up everything, but understanding that the world doesn't operate according to our desires. When we realize this, we stop feeling betrayed by life. Think about it. How many times have you gotten angry because someone didn't treat you the way you expected? How many times have you been frustrated because success didn't come when you thought it should? But have you ever asked yourself, who promised that things would happen your way? Seneca once said, "He suffers more than necessary who suffers before it is necessary." We torture ourselves with expectations about an uncertain future, but if we stop to observe, we might realize that right now, nothing is really wrong. Things are just not happening the way we expected. Now, imagine waking up tomorrow and deciding to expect nothing. You don't expect people to love you in a certain way, you don't expect your work to go smoothly, you don't expect all your plans to unfold perfectly. Something curious happens when we do this. We start to appreciate the little things that once went unnoticed. A spontaneous smile, a peaceful morning, a sincere conversation. When we stop expecting too much, even the simplest moments can bring us joy. Waiting less doesn't mean living a life without emotion. It means learning to accept life as it is. When we reduce our expectations, we also reduce our fears. We stop worrying so much about what we might lose because we were never overly attached. Like a leaf floating on a river, we start to go with the flow without resistance. So the real question is, do you really need everything you want to be happy? Or is it these very desires that are causing your suffering? Today, try living without imposing expectations on the world. Observe, listen, and accept everything as if you were a traveler exploring an unknown territory. Because when we stop demanding that life follows our script, we discover something surprising. Life has always been beautiful in its own way, we just hadn't noticed. Seeing the world without expectations brings peace, but this leads us to another challenge. How do we protect this peace? Life not only pulls us toward our own desires, but also burdens us with the expectations of others. If you say yes to every request and allow others to dictate how you spend your time and energy, are you truly in control of your life? Perhaps it's time to adopt another powerful principle, the courage to say no. Number 7. Say no more often. Have you ever watched science fiction movies with magic doors that lead to anywhere? A realm of happiness, a place of light, or endless chaos? In real life, that door exists and it's within your reach. It doesn't need a golden key or spells, just one simple word, no. A small term, but when used correctly, it can pave the way for a more peaceful and meaningful life. On the other hand, if you hesitate to walk through it, you may find yourself trapped in an endless maze of commitments you never wanted to take on. Imagine yourself at a luxurious banquet, full of irresistible dishes. You're not really hungry, but the host insists you try something. You feel guilty for refusing, so you end up tasting a bit. Then a little more. Before you know it, you've overeaten, and now you feel heavy, exhausted, and maybe regretful. Life is like this banquet. Opportunities, requests, and obligations are always arising, and often we feel pressure to say yes. But just like overeating slows the body, taking on too many responsibilities wears out the mind. The Stoics believed that true freedom doesn't come from pleasing everyone, but from mastering oneself. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only goal worth pursuing in life. It is achieved by ignoring what is beyond our control." If you want to live meaningfully, you need to learn to let go of what is not yours to carry. Try to see refusal not as rejection, but as a choice. By saying no to something, you're not rejecting people or opportunities, but choosing a path that is more aligned with who you truly are. A great artist is not one who paints everything they can, but one who knows how to erase unnecessary strokes. A full life is not about doing everything, but about carefully choosing what is worth your time and energy. If you're not used to saying no, the world around you may react. Some people will be surprised, others may be disappointed. But this is a good sign. If you've never disappointed anyone, you've probably sacrificed too much of your freedom to please others. And what if you started saying no today? The interesting thing is that, by practicing this conscious selection, something unexpected happens. Life becomes lighter. What really matters stands out amidst the noise. You'll have more time to focus on what truly brings you happiness. And above all, you'll feel freer. Because in the end, happiness is not having more, but carrying less. Number 8. Embrace discomfort to grow. Imagine yourself as a sharp blade. Without the sharpening stone, without pressure and friction, your edge wears down and becomes useless. Life works the same way. If you constantly avoid discomfort and refuse to face challenges, you will never improve or evolve into the best version of yourself. The Stoics believed that difficulties, inconveniences, and adversities are not obstacles to growth, but the essential conditions for us to thrive. You've probably heard the phrase, if you want to be strong, you must be willing to endure. But have you stopped to think why? Happiness and peace don't come from ease, but from accepting discomfort. Stoicism doesn't seek a life of convenience. It cultivates the inner strength to face difficulties head-on. Epictetus said, "Difficulties reveal the character of men." So when problems arise, think of yourself as a fighter who has been placed to train with a strong opponent. Challenges are not punishments, but training fields, just like a fighter must face more skilled opponents to hone their techniques. But how can we learn to accept discomfort instead of resisting it? Think of professional boxers. They don't just endure the pain of being hit, they actively train with harder punches. This not only strengthens their bodies, but also conditions their minds to resist difficulty. In everyday life, this principle can be applied in simple but powerful ways. Wake up earlier than you'd like and train your discipline, instead of giving in to the comfort of a few more minutes of sleep. When faced with a challenging opportunity, step out of your comfort zone instead of retreating to what is familiar. If there's a difficult conversation waiting for you, don't avoid it. Face it, knowing that discomfort drives personal growth. Even in the smallest actions, embracing small challenges strengthens your resilience. Choosing to walk instead of drive, silencing your phone instead of letting it control your attention. These small decisions build a stronger mind. It seems contradictory, doesn't it? We tend to believe that happiness lies in comfort, but the most fulfilled people are those who face challenges and learn to master their emotions in the face of adversity. When you voluntarily embrace discomfort, it stops being suffering and becomes training. Ask yourself, when was the last time you faced something truly uncomfortable? Did you dive into the experience, or did you retreat? The Stoics never sought the easiest path. They faced life like warriors, steady in the storms, knowing that resilience is not found in escape, but in the courage to confront. If today feels hard, don't curse the day, thank it. Life is not breaking you, it's shaping you. So the next time you find yourself in an uncomfortable situation, remember, growth never comes from ease. Embrace the challenge, make it part of your journey, and discover a deep peace, not by fleeing from life's difficulties, but by facing them with your head held high. Number 9. Reflect on death. We live as if we were immortal, as if tomorrow is always guaranteed to fix our mistakes, to love, to pursue unfinished dreams. We promise ourselves that one day we will truly start living. But in the meantime, we bury ourselves in trivial worries and invisible pressures. We postpone happiness. We postpone life. Meanwhile, time goes on, not waiting for anyone. If there's an undeniable truth in this world, it's this: we are all going to die. Stoicism does not shy away from death, it faces it head-on. The Stoics had a powerful maxim, memento mori, remember that you will die. But this reflection is not meant to instill fear, it's meant to awaken awareness. When we truly understand the inevitability of death, we learn to live fully. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." Think about it. If today were your last day, how would you live? Would you still hold grudges over insignificant things? Would you continue scrolling through your phone without genuinely connecting with someone? Or would you hold your loved ones a little longer, have the courage to say what you've never dared to say, and savor every moment you once considered trivial? Here's the paradox. Reflecting on death does not bring despair, it brings liberation. Like a sharp blade, this thought cuts away what is irrelevant, leaving only what truly matters. It reminds us that nothing is worth wasting our time on, not regrets, not fears, and not the relentless pursuit of things we don't truly need. And how did the Stoics practice this? They didn't wait for their last moments to learn how to live. Instead, they often asked themselves, if this were the last time I did this, how would I do it? While eating, walking, talking, observing the world, they did everything with full presence, as if it were the last chance. You can start with a simple exercise. Every night before you go to sleep, imagine that you might not wake up the next day. Not as a pessimistic thought, but as a reflection. Did I live fully today? Did I do something meaningful? If this were my last day, would I have regrets? This is not a new idea. The samurai lived by this same philosophy. They believed that by accepting death, they could fight without fear. In the same way, when we accept the finiteness of life, we free ourselves from the chains of unnecessary worries. We begin to live with more courage, without postponing what truly matters. Number 10. Cultivate gratitude for life. If reflecting on death teaches us to live with more urgency and purpose, reflecting on life teaches us to live it with fullness and gratitude. Often, we are so focused on what we lack, on what we still want to achieve, that we forget to appreciate what we already have. But what if, for a moment, we changed that perspective? The Stoics remind us that happiness doesn't come from the relentless pursuit of more, but from the appreciation of the present. Seneca wrote, "It's not that we have a shortage of happiness, but a lack of awareness of it." Imagine how your life would change if, instead of counting difficulties, you began counting your blessings. This doesn't mean ignoring the challenges, but rather training your mind to recognize what's good, even amid adversity. After all, every day we have something to be grateful for. The simple fact that we're alive, breathing, with a chance to learn, grow, and love. But how can we practice gratitude in a genuine way, not just as an abstract idea? Start small. When you wake up, before getting lost in the day's worries, ask yourself, what's good in my life right now? It could be something simple, like the sunlight coming through the window, a friend who supports you, a moment of tranquility. Another powerful way to cultivate gratitude is to express it. Tell people you appreciate what they do for you. A simple, sincere thank you can strengthen bonds and transform relationships. And when things go wrong, gratitude may seem difficult in those moments, but even challenges bring valuable lessons. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" try asking, "What can I learn from this?" Life owes us nothing, and every day we have is a gift. If reflecting on death teaches us not to waste our time, gratitude for life teaches us to make the most of it. Don't wait to lose something to realize its value. Choose today to see the blessings already around you. So ask yourself, what right now makes my life something I can be grateful for? You might be surprised by the answer. Then, ask yourself again, if tomorrow never comes, are you really living today? I'm genuinely curious. What is your answer? We've just explored the 10 essential Stoic principles to help you detach and find true inner peace. Life is unpredictable, filled with challenges and uncertainties, but you don't have to be dragged by them. Happiness is not in controlling everything around you, but in knowing what to hold on to and what to let go of. When you accept that some things are beyond your control, you stop being a prisoner of circumstances and become the master of your own life. Peace is not a distant destination, it's in the way you choose to live each day. When you face adversity with resilience, when you stop letting emotions dictate your actions, when you realize that no one can take away the freedom within your mind, that's when you find true happiness. If this video brought value to you and you haven't done so yet, take a moment to like it. This helps spread this message to more people. Share your thoughts in the comments and send this video to someone who needs to hear this. And don't forget to subscribe, there's much more wisdom coming your way. I'll see you in the next video.